Can you tell us your name and if you represent someone?
Absolutely. I am Gabe. I'm one of the pediatric residents of the hospital. I've been living here for a few years, but first time here.
Welcome.
Welcome. And there is someone else here, and his name is Oscar. Oscar is from Guatemala. He came here Monday. He doesn't speak English, so I'm going to just translate really quick to him in Spanish. Entonces, Oscar, te estamos dando la cordial bienvenida a todos acá en línea y acá en persona. So, so let's get started with the meeting. So just a quick rundown of our rules quickly. We're focused on no fault problem solving. We're going to step forward for those who like to talk a little bit more. Let's step back and let others speak freely. We want to have an open, honest, and safe space, listen with open minds, believe in everyone's best intentions, be action-oriented, decide what we want, when we want it, and plan for its happening. We want to be fair haven center of collaboration and start, proceed, and end on time and honor the agenda. So I do apologize for a little bit of a late start. We were just waiting for everyone to come on in. So for those for on Zoom, just please be mindful to mute the microphones, use the chat box, and if you do not want to be live, you can certainly just shut off your camera once we start recording. I believe we have already began recording. And I'm going to call the official call September's meeting to order. We'll do a roll call of the board. Adam, can you get us started off with that, please?
Oh, no, that's me.
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Liz,
Here.
Gina,
Here.
Abby.
Here.
Adam.
No, Abby, Adam, yes.
Oh, Lee,
Present, and I just sent Abby a message just in case something came up for her. Just to ask her if she's coming.
and I'm here.
All right. And moving forward, is there any changes that need to be made to last month's meeting minutes before we move forward? Or do we have quorum?
Adam, do we have quorum to approve the minutes from last month?
I was gonna say, that we will, I need one more person and it might be an in-person person because I think I've got everyone online. If there are any voting members, I saw Caroline
Yep.
So, yeah.
and the
So,
board. If anyone else is a voting member, we will have quorum.
are either of you voting member? You're a voting member?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, so we got it.
Okay, so we got it. We can go ahead.
All right.
You want to go ahead and just go through the process to approve them?
Yeah, so just for clarification, as long as there is no updates that need to be made from last month's minutes, that we would go ahead
And
and
be approved.
approve it. So I do not see anything here in the room, hear anything in the room. Is there anyone online that had any discrepancies?
I see none.
All right, thank you. So that will approve the August meeting minutes. So moving forward, we do have Ms. Gina Coppins online with the financial report.
There were no expenses in August, so the balance continues to be $4,064.88.
Thank you so much, Gina. And on behalf of Lieutenant Fumiali, who is unable to be here with us today, Lee is going to give a quick update on some information that he has.
Yes, folks, at 5 o'clock an hour ago, I got a message from the lieutenant saying he would not be able to come. My assumption is that something has come up for work, because we know he's very dedicated to coming to our meetings. So he asked me to please emphasize his phone number, his cell phone number is on every agenda, including the one you got for this meeting. That number is 475-331-3180. He asked that you not hesitate to use it. Again, the best way to reach him is to text him a message, and then he will get back to you as soon as he possibly can. If anyone has any question about anything that's gone on this month, you should text him and he will call you back. He also asked me to emphasize that given an uptick in violence, there is we are hiring overtime beats to address the uptick in violence. And that is the entirety of his report.
Thank you so much, Lean. And next we have Ms. Carmen Mendez joining us online with the Livable City Initiative. Go ahead, Ms. Carmen.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well in this terrible heat. Try to stay cool. I've been trying to stay cool, although I've lost it a couple of times. The heat is so bad. I informed you guys last month that I was hitting Lombard Street. And I had actually begun Lombard Street, doing inspections, going house to house. So I'm almost done with all of Lombard Street, from East Street to Front Street. I think I have 4 more blocks to go. And then that will be over. But the rest of the work begins, sending out the letters, making sure that there's a hearing officer if people wish to, argue their case, they can do that. There's a whole process that takes place after the inspection. But at any rate, we are almost through with that process in Lombard Street. Ferry Street was already, we had already gone house to house on Ferry Street. Next week, we'll be revisiting Ferry Street to see if people complied with our orders. And if they didn't comply, they're going to get a second letter. And then after that, we have to decide how we're going to deal with the situation. And we do that as a group. But as I said, these two streets, particularly Ferry Street, are of great concern to us. The condition of Ferry Street is of great concern to LCI, and Lombard Street and Grand Avenue, actually. So those and Chapel Street, the main thoroughfares there in Fairhaven that either welcomes people or not, those are very important to us. So keeping people up on the rules is very important to us, and making sure that we have relationships with a lot of people on the block is very important to us. So basically, that's it. And I've been responding to secret fix complaints and to people who give me a call. And I'll give you my telephone number, and I welcome you to call me. Actually, it's a lot easier, even though I take all my secret fix complaints early in the morning. I'd like you to reach out to me and talk to me about what's going down that you're concerned about. My telephone number is 203-410-6527. 203-410-6527. And I'd welcome you to give me a call at whatever time. I even pick up my phone during the weekend. So if there's something that's really bothering you, or you need to be, you want to be referred to someone, give me a call. And that's it. Any questions?
Not seeing anything here in person. Thank you, Carmen. Any questions online?
I see none.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Thank you for confirming. All right, thank you so much for your time, Carmen, and we'll see you next month.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, and just a quick reminder of the quarterly presentation of the Civilian Review Board by J1 Carter. He can be reached via email at j1.carter@gmail.com, and I'll try to get that into the chat really quick for those online if you want to discuss anything with him. And next up, with economic development updates, is Ms. Kathleen Perla.
She's not here. but-
Steve this month.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and no problem. As a couple of you indicated, I'm pitching in for Kathleen, who couldn't be with you. Thank you very much for the time. First, I'm putting in the chat some information on a flyer to an event that will be next week that our new CSA, Eliza Halsey, excuse me, asked me to share with all of you. So please feel free to take note of that. I have a few things to mention. The first is, and I'm sorry if others have already covered it, the Strong School conversion is going to be at BZA for a final vote later this month. And if it's approved, the developers will submit the plan to the City Plan Commission for the site plan approval next month. The city had emergency repairs to the roof completed over the summer, and they're working right now on scheduling with the Board of Education the cleaning out of the building. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. in front of the old Greens Cleaners at 233 Grand, the city and economic development will be doing an announcement of the ARPA grants that are going to various awardees. These are the Neighborhood Economic Opportunity Challenge grants. Many of you may have heard of. We've got a number of awardees. I think there are 12 citywide, and I believe GASD is one of those awardees. So if you'd like to attend, I'm sure people would welcome to having you there. Again, Greens Cleaners, 233 Grand Avenue, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Another thing that you all may be interested in, a colleague of mine, Lil Snyder, who's the head of the Small Contractor Development Program, identified and secured a $400,000 grant from the U.S. Department of Energy called a Building Upgrade Grant. And what it does basically is it provides home energy efficiency upgrades to low and moderate income homeowners. For different reasons, Lil decided to apply on the basis of seeking these funds for Grand Avenue residents and Fairhaven residents in general. So she's appearing tonight before the CSEP committee of the Board of Alders to ask the board to approve or accept this grant. We expect that they will. We hope that they will, certainly. And if they do, I expect we'll be hearing about it, more about it shortly. But it's certainly exciting news, I think, for some of your fellow residents of Fairhaven on this particular item. On a related note, there is a similar small business program that's available to people through UI that will help to provide energy efficiency improvements to small businesses and then implement them at a low or no cost basis. It's called Small Business Energy Advantage Program. And I can provide you more information about that or connect you with Lil about the other grant that we're going to receive, ideally, if you'd like more information on that. Finally, some of you may have read, we are proceeding with the River Street improvement plan that we talked about in brief a couple of months ago. The final building on River Street that needed to be demolished has been demolished. So what we plan to do is come before the Development Commission next week, and then ultimately the Board of Alders to seek approval for this redevelopment plan that will clean up some portions of the property, redevelop them, and create jobs and tax-paying businesses. So happy to tell you more about that down the road next month if you'd like, but wanted to give you a heads up that this will be discussed next Wednesday morning at the Development Commission, and then ideally submitted to the Board of Alders for a referral to the City Plan Commission and to various committees of the Board of Alders for their consideration. So that's my report in brief. Thank you all very much. Happy to try to answer any questions or take comments or questions for answer down the road.
Thank you, Steve. I see a question online, Ms. Sally Escobedo.
Hi, Steve. Can you give us an update on Gigantic Studios project? Thanks.
I have known Sally. Thank you for the question. As far as we know, the project is dead. We have no communication from anyone at Gigantic, nor have we received any other information about them at this point, nor are we aware of them actually going anywhere else for that matter. So at this point, our understanding of the project is dead.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any questions here in the room, comments? Not seeing anything, and as of right now, I don't see anything else online. So thank you so much for your report, Steve.
You're welcome, and I'll put my phone number and email address in the chat if anybody wants to access them, and feel free to reach out if we can answer any questions or do anything else for you all down the road. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And moving on with our main agenda of our vision in action. Tonight we don't have anything under responsive, transparent government nor economic community development. Under environment, we have Mr. John Trzynski with Starka, Resilient Connecticut. He'll be doing a presentation for about 30 minutes, and Lee is going to give him a quick introduction.
Hello, everyone. In addition to being co-chair of the management team, I also sit on the Governor's Council for Climate Change. We did a lot of work last year to come up with a plan that included 23 executive orders that were issued by the governor in December of 2022 and are being worked on right now. And in addition to that, deep through the work of the Governor's Council, contracted Circa, which is the place where John works, to do this very important work of helping cities to develop plans for how we're going to deal with climate change. And wisely, Circa has chosen to come physically to Fairhaven, which they've done now at least 3 times that I know of, perhaps even more than that. And they're here tonight. And although perhaps you've heard a lot about this, perhaps you've heard little, perhaps you've heard nothing, there is no doubt that our climate is changing. Evidence the weather this week. This is not a drill, this is the real thing. And what impacts us most here in Fairhaven and throughout New Haven is the potential of sea level rise, because we are a front on the Long Island Sound. And the other one that people might not think about is the lack of tree canopy shade. We need more shade for people when they're out on the street. I'll just mention that the last week of August, there was an article in the New York Times about Fairhaven. And it was talking about the people who've dedicated themselves to planting trees here. So if you want, I can share a copy of the article through the minutes, but I don't want to take up any more time. I just want to ask John to please do your thing. John is a planner and exactly the right skills that we want working with our city folks, city engineering, city plan to help us to develop this plan. So take it away, John.
Thanks, Lee. I hope you can hear me okay. Sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. It's been great to come to the last couple of meetings and talk about this project. You know, Lee, I think set it up well for us. Our whole goal here is to basically come up with some projects for the neighborhood, for Fairhaven, that address some of what we see as the biggest climate impacts, and that's mostly related to flooding. As Lee said, you know, sea level rise is causing increases in how often it floods. We've also got the increase in precipitation and how that stresses the drainage systems, which anyone who lives in the neighborhood is, I'm sure, experienced in, you know, some of the underpasses and some of the areas that flood. And then we also have been focusing on the heat impacts. We expect the temperature is going to increase throughout the state and throughout the country, and we wanted to come up with some ideas for how the neighborhood could adapt and respond to that. So tonight, what I wanted to do is just pass the floor to some of our partners. So Circa is working with a technical team at Fuss and O'Neill, and they have been doing a lot of the background work on the engineering and the developing the concepts. So tonight we just wanted to take some time to go through some of the ideas that team has come up with and really just have an open discussion and get feedback, hear from all of you. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Eric Moss, who is with Fuss and O'Neill, and he's the project manager for this project, and he'll take it away from here.
Thank you, John, and good evening, everyone. Glad to be here. Like John said, you know, we're going to be giving you an update on where we're at in the project and looking for your feedback tonight. So I have a few of my colleagues here with me that'll help give a presentation for about 15 minutes, and then we'll be opening it up for questions and discussion. So I'm going to share my screen. We have some slides for you to look at here. And as I do that, let me just make sure I can get the right screen here. Can everyone see our slides?
Yes.
That's good. Okay, excellent. So as I mentioned, what we're going to do tonight is really talk a little bit about some of the stakeholder engagement and the community outreach that we've been doing over the past, really the past 9 months to a year or so with the community. We'll get an update on what the latest outreach has been. We'll also, again, talk about the draft concepts, some of the design solutions that we're looking at in terms of the flooding issues and the extreme heat, and we'll focus on a few of the areas in Fairhaven that we're developing concepts for. And then we'll leave some time at the end for some discussion and some hopefully some questions and answers. Again, here's our team at Fuss & O'Neill. Tonight with me, I have Andy Bone. He's one of our lead urban designers, landscape architect on the project. And we also have Sochi Garcia, who is from Fairhaven, and she's working with our team as our kind of our community liaison. She's from the community and has been working with us to try to help identify some of the issues in the community and really help inform our solutions that really work for Fairhaven. So that's our team. And I'd like to quickly now hand it over to Sochi. She's going to talk a little bit about some of our latest efforts in terms of engagement in the community. I'm just checking to make sure is Sochi here actually.
I have not seen that name in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, let's give her a few more minutes. If she does enter, we can come back to this. Oh, great. Excellent. Hi, Sochi.
Hello.
I can actually, flip slides. I think you have maybe one, maybe two, but the floor is all yours.
Oh, wow. I came here just on time.
Good timing. Yes, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sochi, and I am a lifetime resident here of New Haven, and I'm here today representing as community liaison through Fuss & O'Neill. And what we did this past Saturday, a couple Saturdays ago, was essentially ask residents of Fairhaven during the Junta Back to School event about what kind of things they would like to have more of in the community, whether it's a specific resource or just something that they would like to improve in their community. And what I really liked about this event was just more or less able to create a conversation with people, because I think oftentimes there's a lot of structure involved in these very open-ended questions and like surveys or emails or even Zoom meetings like this. And so having a very humanistic conversation allowed us to really have more in-depth detail of what people were looking for. And so just to summarize more or less the sticky notes that I was able to capture from people's conversations is that the number one thing that was very talked about is having more parks available, and not just like big parks like Criscolo or Clinton Avenue Park, but like pocket parks, because some residents have discussed about feeling unsafe going into other parts of the neighborhood, and so it discouraged them to be outside altogether. And so that's a legitimate concern from them. And so even if a playground may not have like a splash pad or slides or swings, just like an open green space where you can do simple leisure recreational activities was enough for most people. Another thing that came about was just having more benches or areas of leisure, which intersect with just having open green spaces, just because, as we may know, Fairhaven is a 2-mile radius post-industrial neighborhood. And so things are narrower and more crowded, and just the act of simply sitting is something that comes to people's mind, but not actively when you're thinking of Fairhaven in comparison to like East Rock, where sidewalks are wider and there are more spaces to just sit and eat or just exist as a person. And another thing too was more or less having a designated space to have either bilingual environmental programs or just spaces where people can learn different trade skills. And that's something that we delved a little bit more into, like what specifically that they want, because some adults came to me and were very broad and general with some of their conversations, but I really wanted to hone in on what exactly that meant. And so there was one person who said, like, for instance, they were from Latin America and that a very custom is just crocheting, but because she's so busy, she doesn't have time to actually sit and like watch a YouTube video, but she would rather be in community to just do something simple like that. And also too, a lot of adults were very centered on young adults or young children, but I actually opened the question to like, what would you like? So people over 20 and 30, it's like, we like to think about the little humans, but we should also enjoy the environmental aspects or just being in the neighborhood itself. And so they were really great conversations. So I'm happy to just discuss more or less what was discussed, but that was the overall summary.
Great, thank you, Sochi. And we've been doing community engagement events now off and on for the past few months, and we've had really good, turnout. We were at Fairhaven Day, and have gotten some, very good, very good feedback from the community to really help us focus in on some of the things that are most important, to the community in terms of how flooding and heat affect them, and also how, what can we do to kind of tailor the solutions, to Fairhaven. So thanks for that update, Sochi. And next, we're going to talk about some of the concepts that we're developing. And these are concepts that are addressing both flooding issues and also these extreme heat. And many times some of the solutions are similar or overlapping between the two. Before I turn it over to Andy, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background in terms of how we have come up with these solutions and the process that we've been through. We're essentially working with an advisory committee, a community and technical advisory committee that's made up of members of city staff. So we're working with engineering, Giovanni and Don from engineering, working with the folks in planning. We've also spoken to and interacted with economic development, with emergency management, and several other partners, as well as many members of the community and various groups that are right here in Fairhaven and in the city more broadly. So our process has been, driven by the community engagement, trying to get input from the community and from the city itself. We've been working on these designs for the past few months now, and are kind of coming down the home stretch where we've looked at different alternatives. We've developed some concepts schematically, and now are focused in on several areas in Fairhaven where we're actually developing some concept drawings and renderings that we will give you a sneak peek of tonight. So just wanted to kind of set that up and then now hand it over to Andy Bone, who's going to review some of these concepts with you in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. So as Eric mentioned, we've kind of looked at a variety of different areas throughout Fairhaven and kind of zoomed in and honed in on these two areas, kind of the Clinton Park zone, as well as the John W. Murphy zone, which we'll talk about tonight, and kind of really did a study and an analysis of all the infrastructure, the tree canopy covers, the flood inundation zones, kind of the bus routes, transportation, sidewalk, to really kind of dig into, what opportunities there are to do as much as we can. I think one of the things that we really try to think about as community designers is that, that there's the days of just having a single-use landscape are really really lost, and we need to have a really high functioning, high value landscape that can perform multiple functions, and especially in areas with high density. It's even more critical that happens in areas like Fairhaven. Looking at cooling corridors is something that we really wanted to focus on, and making sure that the evacuation routes, because we recognize that there's there's some pretty significant inundation that happens in some of the ways off of Fairhaven or out of Fairhaven that are going to take some pretty significant moves to try to fix. So we're trying to focus on the areas that we know we can protect and kind of highlight as ways to get off and out of Fairhaven if we have a really big high water event. So we'll look at some of those things as well. As we kind of think about all these intersections, we're looking at making sure that these connections can be crossed over as well, and how these can be implemented throughout Fairhaven. We'll zoom into these two areas, but these different concepts and these ideas really can be implemented throughout most of Fairhaven as well. So the first area we'll focus in on is the Clinton Park zone. And this area is, the Clinton Park School is kind of in the center of the plan here, with the with the English Mall off to the left, as well as, excuse me, the Quinnipiac River off to the right, with Dover Beach kind of between River Street and the Quinnipiac River, and recognizing that the inundation zone in this area underneath the underpass and along the road to the north of 91. Eric, I'm blanking on the name, but that area is an area of significant access issues. So when we have an inundation, Milltown, thank you. That area can be a very challenging and dangerous spot. So we're looking at areas. Are there fixes in those areas? And if not, how do we make sure that there is a way to get out of Fairhaven if need be for evacuation routes, but also doing it in a way that provides some resiliency to the community as well. Really looking at the green spaces and really trying to maximize these pocket parks and providing different park experiences for a variety of different events. So as flexible as we can, making sure that there's some access, safe waterfront access was another thing that really kind of, as one of the goals we honed in on. And green infrastructure plays a role in all of this, and that's really where we're looking at this kind of multifaceted, multi-use landscape as providing shade and cover canopies, and areas of respite, and for areas of taking a seat on a bench. Eric, you could probably flip to the plan view of this one. So the concept as we've developed it thus far is really looking at kind of how can the Quinnipiac River be more integrated into the Dover Beach area, and is there opportunities to provide more access to the water in a variety of different ways, with either some additional boat ramps and some fishing platforms and piers and ways to get down to the water's edge that can be much more accessible now, and also allow the water to come in a little bit more and not have such a hardened edge, and looking at living shorelines. And then as we move kind of up the hill towards the Clinton Park School, we're really looking at every open space, green open space, and providing a multi-functionality to it. So is there opportunities to do some community orchards, and providing some more pocket parks that are pretty unprogrammed right now, and just big open lawn spaces, and providing some more shade canopy in those areas. And then as we look at these kind of community connections as we come up the hill on Peck Street and Peck Street, and on Clinton Park or Clinton Avenue, and coming around the school, is really trying to think about how these spaces can be broken down a little bit more and provide that multifunctionality while still providing large open lawn areas for active recreation, providing some passive recreation opportunities, and integrating some nature-based playgrounds. And really, you'll see in this that really pushing the kind of shade canopy as much as we can, with integration into the green infrastructure, so that all of that water, trying to give it an opportunity to get into the ground where it falls versus kind of the traditional on asphalt to a curb, into a catch basin and out as fast as possible. Really looking at trying to create more of a sponge opportunity in these areas. At the same time, it's creating an amenity for the community. And then as we move kind of from the Clinton Park area into the English Mall, the English Mall has really got some great structure to it, and some great vegetation on it. So working with that vegetation and integrating some paths into it and making it a little bit more connected and accessible to the community, but really trying to work within the framework of what's there today and creating that kind of green linkage from the English Mall through Clinton Park and down to Dover Beach is really what we focused on there. Eric, did I miss anything on this one before we go over to?
Do you want to just mention the sort of the restricted access to the underpasses that get flooded routinely?
Yeah, so this is something that we studied pretty significantly. Is what would it take to create a safe passage as from Clinton Ave and from Front Street? How can we get over to Middletown Ave and make that a safe access point? And the reality is it's a significant lift because it involves Interstate 91 and the railroad are really these pinch points that create these kind of islands, and really don't provide much opportunity to fix it without a really significant endeavor. So what we did here is we really looked at, are there opportunities to make sure that we have some gates, some automated gates that can be lowered to let the residents in the community know, like, this is, we're either in an inundation event or one's coming, and this is an area that we need to block down a little bit and focus more on the safe evacuation routes to get the community out.
Could you possibly take questions by section instead of waiting to the very end? Because I think that there are people on board here that have expertise in certain areas.
Sure.
If I could just give you an example of that, I believe Karen Du Bois Walton is on. She's a resident and she's also the head of the Housing Authority. And Karen, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could say a little bit about how many people live at Farnham Port. And I wanted to mention, while you're thinking about that, a lot of people from Fairhaven walk right up Front Street to walk all the way around onto Middletown to get to their preferred supermarket, which is Walmart. And so that's a concern, the pedestrian traffic, not just from Farnham Port. But the exodus, should there be an emergency from, if we had to evacuate Farnham up, why am I saying Farnham Port? I mean, Quinnipiac Terrace, I apologize, Quinnipiac Terrace. I don't know, Karen, if there's anything you could say about that.
Well, there are over 200 families living there. In terms of people count, that's probably like 600 residents or so. I could get you more specific numbers. But it is a community that takes advantage of the riverfront. There is a good deal of car ownership over there, but also, a number of people that walk, use public transportation. So it's a good sized community right there.
Also, I would just point out that we've done some artwork in that area. There's more space to do it. And I just want to make sure that you guys know that Yale School of Art has 2 artists that they've commissioned, and there's money there. And they want to do artwork that informs people. So doing something under the highway that indicates, you know, the level of the water that could indicate, so it's art, but it's also informative in case of a surge of water during a hurricane, so on and so forth. That might be something to look at with Yale School of Art. If you don't have a contact, I can give you a contact there. I don't know if there's anybody else that knows anything else about that area that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Are there specific underpasses that they're focused on?
No, they're focused on artwork on issues of climate change. They're about to inaugurate one of their projects at the new Match Training Center in a couple of Fridays. One of the artists will be there, but we can put you in contact with the dean of the School of Art under Art and Architecture, see what the parameters are and see if there might be something that could be done that would be both, again, attractive, but also educational and maybe even serve as a warning, particularly at Middletown and Front.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. We definitely would appreciate that contact.
Yeah, no, it is a great idea, you know, especially integration of telling a story through that, I think it would be an awesome way to kind of capture that and talk about where it is today and the projections that, you know, where it could be and some of the different, I think that would be a really great way to integrate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there other questions or comments about this particular focus area?
Actually, it's a general question, but especially around the tough, you know, pedestrian access on Middletown. I'm a member of the city's Commission on Disabilities and I live in Fairhaven. And I'm wondering how you in your planning are planning for people with disabilities to navigate all of the space and the issues that you're trying to address. And it's bad enough now, you know, trying to get from Front Street out to Walmart or even farther. So can you address that, please? Thank you.
Sure. I think one of the it is a significant challenge, and it's something that was very clear, and we've heard from the community as well. And it's, as far as safety too, it's a wide open once you get kind of out of, I'll call it underneath the 91 corridor and out onto Middletown Ave. It's just a wide open, expansive area. So certainly looking at pedestrian improvements as far as the accessibility throughout the entire community is something that we definitely will focus on and have been focusing on, and trying to look at how that can be done to the water areas as well, because that's one area that seems so kind of cut off, especially if you have some accessibility issues. But I think Middletown Ave in general has some improvements that certainly could be done for accessibility and safety as well.
Thank you.
I have a question. My name is David Hunter. I maybe have missed earlier introductions. What are you working with the New Haven Parks Commission? Is this part of their work?
So we're actually working with Circa, so with John's group with the state, UConn, and we're also, Circa is partnered with the city. So we're working with various city departments, including engineering, planning.
I heard that part, yeah.
Yep.
So you're not with Parks Commission, right? That you don't have
no
intersection there?
Right.
Okay. So I have two thoughts. One is, maybe you'll finish it, but do you have any plans for installing pickleball courts?
That's fine.
I mean, that has become, I know.
Yeah, no.
So then my second question is, I just think that's growing in the United States or in Connecticut. The other thought I had is, it's which contradicts that recommendation or suggestion, but we have a high population of Ecuadorian community in Fairhaven, and they have a problem with places that are available for them to play soccer and to play volleyball. It's part of their ethos it seems. Now they have other issues. There's, there's other ancillary activities that, are not, acceptable in city parks. But to me, that might, I was just thinking about them. And then thirdly, the problem that we're having as a community with nefarious activities in our parks that actually prohibit families from enjoying the parks, such as, drinking, public drinking that's not being stopped in our community, and of course, drug activity. So, those are the, maybe the down and dirty kind of issues that we're facing. And I know you've got the overview of it, but those are just some of the thoughts that I have.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for those comments. So I'll start with the pickleball discussion, and volleyball wasn't something we had heard at this point. So certainly that's something that could be incorporated. But what we're looking at really in kind of the impervious areas or the more paved areas, like the baseball courts the basketball courts, or there's a half tennis court, or would really to be kind of a multi-use and striping capacity over the top, so that you can have that programmatic event happening over the top of it. So maybe used at certain times for one event and certain times for another, and sharing those facilities as much as we can where space is a premium. Soccer, we did hear a lot about, and really studied and looked at how to make the programmatic events of what we're showing here kind of in the main part of Clinton Park, I'll say the green space, and showing how it can be carved up in a variety of different ways for different style soccer plays. So we show a baseball diamond, but it can fit a full-size soccer field. Then a full-size soccer field can be broken down into 3 smaller fields, and then more of the dedicated kind of open space to the left of that, showing how that can be broken down from 1 large field into 3 smaller fields, and even into the smallest of fields that are played. So that is something we're certainly thinking about. And then as far as the safety concerns and how that works, I think it's really, we're trying to provide a goal that can be kind of owned by the community. So that's why we're trying to hear what people want as much as we can, to incorporate it, because that's ultimately what we feel like we'll have the most eyes on it at that time. So to really trying to give back to the community what we're hearing as much as we can. So Eric, I don't know if you had anything else to add to that.
No, that's really good. I think in these 2 focus areas, you'll see a lot of elements that could be, implemented elsewhere in Fairhaven. And I think, we've definitely, heard from the community, about safety and basic security. And I think what we're trying to do is create some areas of focus where people can take pride in some of these very highly public areas. And hopefully that helps the situation. It's, we're kind of at a higher level, and there's some basic needs that the community has. And I think we're trying to maybe, find a match there and improve the situation overall through this, one climate resilience focused project.
Thank you.
One more thing about this area that is not in this area but will affect us is, if you look at the wetlands across the river from Dover Beach, those wetlands used to extend all the way into what is now the Walmart parking lot and Lowe's. A tremendous amount of wetlands, which would be absorbent, for people that don't know, of any surge in water, have been cut back. What can be done to recover as much of that wetland and to grow it out in some way? I'm not a botanist or anything, but that will have a huge impact on that section of Fairhaven. If we can have some shock absorbing from storms in that area.
No, it's a very valid comment, and a very important one that we see all across the United States is what can we do to kind of help break down some of those areas and expand out the sponge capacity and the resilience capacity. And it's gonna have to be kind of a everywhere you can, you gotta do what you can. So Dover Beach, we're looking at kind of breaking down some of the wall on the more of the north side and creating a little bit more of a floodable living shoreline opportunity there, where the boat, where it says like boat ramp from there kind of down to where the Dover Beach symbol is. We're thinking of that as like an elevated walkway or boardwalk that actually has the water kind of flow in and out through the different tide cycles, and create that kind of sponge effect. And that area is small compared to the Walmart on the other side of the river, but everywhere we can, we're thinking about that, and you'll see that played through on the John W. Murphy side as well.
Well, Walmart can either give up a part of their parking lot that they don't use, or they can suffer the consequences in their store. Either way, they're gonna lose.
This is true.
All right, should we move on to?
I have a question.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I have a question. Hi, it's Peter Noble. I'm familiar with Clinton Avenue Park from years of doing programming there. Is that baseball field that you have there a like a regulation size field, like 90 feet base path, or is it a little league field? Because right now, the way it is right now, it's a regulation field, and then the little league field is on the opposite corner, which gets used a lot by City Angels right now. So, or is it a little field that you have there? That's one.
Yeah, when we went through this, we did it to the high school dimension, knowing that we could play it down if we needed to. So trying to make, again, programmatic adjustments. So there's a lot of pressure in Fairhaven on every park and open space because there's not a lot of park and open space. So we even struggled with like, how much do we want to try to break this down to add a little bit more shade and get some infrastructure. At the same time, we don't want to take away programmatic capacities as much as we can. So we tried to look at balancing that as much as we could.
Is it fenced in? Is that a soccer field that I'm seeing, or a all-purpose field that you mentioned right beside the baseball field?
Yeah, it's not anticipated that it would be fenced in. There could be like a home, like a temporary home run fence if need be for the baseball side. But on the soccer side, we're thinking that that's just more of we're overlaying kind of the line work that could be laid onto those fields to be one larger soccer field or many smaller soccer fields.
There is a soccer program that meets there in the afternoons on the Peck side corner of the park. As I said, there is use of the Little League field that's on the Clinton Avenue side with the sidewalk there that cuts across.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you know, the Cricket League has been there for years, maybe 10, 15 years. And they basically use the center out like a big circle.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I guess going back to David's point about Parks and Rec, there's a whole bunch of permit people that use the park for various uses, so it should be part of whatever development happens here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. It's a very, very helpful to hear from the folks that have the hands-on experience. So I think the intention is to provide kind of a flexible programmatic spaces. So maybe where the Clinton Parks symbol is in the middle, that doesn't become as heavily vegetated, so that and maybe there's no kind of central walkway, so that that space can function in even more variety of ways. So those are certainly things that can be be looked at.
Are there any other questions regarding this area? Could we move on to the one other area we have?
Yeah.
Thanks, Eric. So this area focuses on the John W. Murphy zone, kind of at the from the rail line down to Grand Avenue, and kind of from James Street over, but also extends up to Fame Academy and kind of incorporates that that area as well. We fully understood and heard a lot of feedback about, you know, how the schools being so integrated into the community and kind of the next generation being so important to to providing information to their, you know, to their families at home and their extended families in Fairhaven, and really utilizing this as kind of a key point to really showcase what could be done and kind of in a variety of different ways. So the orientation of this is a little bit wonky on this zone, and we'll flip it back when we go to the next one, I believe. So north is to the left side of the screen. I saw that comment come up there. But really, again, looking at kind of the low-lying roadways here in John W. Murphy, you see the inundation zones kind of with that light blue, really push all the way across John W. Murphy. The healthcare and services facility has an extensive amount of parking lot. We know it is utilized at various times, but it's a fairly sizable area. We've heard a lot about the Mill River Trail and how can that be incorporated into something like this. And really looking at every opportunity we could to make these kind of community cooling connections and integration of green infrastructure as much as we can, and kind of the gateway into Fairhaven across Grand Ave is something that we've looked at as well. So now we've switched it up on you, and now north is up on the screen. So the Mill River to the left side, James Street, kind of the blue street that we've drawn there. And what we've really looked at here is kind of breaking down the edge of the Mill River a little bit. I'll start on kind of the north side, adjacent to the railroad facility, and looking at if there's an opportunity here to reduce some of the significant impervious asphalt parking areas and kind of consolidate that into potential parking deck structures, and really help minimize the footprint of some of those facilities so that you can capture back a little bit more green, a little bit more open space. So by doing that, we've looked at kind of creating a break point along the Mill River where Eric's kind of hovering his mouse around, and allowing that area to kind of come in and go out, and kind of the living shoreline mentality again with the flushing of the system and how the system works, and during large storm events providing additional flood volume and storage in areas that are really not providing any additional capacities in the long run. So John W. Murphy, we've looked at the option of elevating that road. So right now, I believe the elevation of the road sits between elevation 5 all the way up to elevation 9 in certain areas. So if we can get that elevation up, it really kind of helps protect and buffer the Fairhaven community to the east side pretty significantly. There are 2 existing industrial buildings and office buildings and manufacturing buildings that have already gone through a flood proofing, and those have already kind of been up and elevated. And then there's one more facility down to the south, which I believe is a paint facility.
That's Grand Paint you're talking about.
Yep. So looking at opportunities there to redevelop that area, and we've heard some discussions of, you know, are there opportunities to redevelop and relocate different facilities? So looking at kind of how this area could potentially be reconfigured if there is a redevelopment opportunity, and provide kind of a gateway across Grand Ave. The Grand Avenue Bridge is something that we certainly recognize as being a critical facility, and looking at elevating that and getting that to a much safer elevation that would connect then more closely to the elevation of John W. Murphy at that corner, and provide kind of a gateway into the community of Fairhaven. There's a significant outfall that happens kind of where Eric's hovering, at the kind of the intersection of Clay and John W. Murphy, that happens right now at the edge of the river. And right now it doesn't really have any backflow prevention. So when the floods come up, it moves up through the system through that big 72-inch culvert through there. So really looking at an opportunity to kind of peel that area back a little bit, provide some daylighting, and then also some backflow prevention on that, so that it doesn't push back up through the community and the businesses in that area. As we move up Clay Street to the Fame Academy, this is an area that we really focused on kind of the green infrastructure, providing some shade opportunities, and really looking at what can be done at Fame Academy to use it as a showcase and a case study for the community. So it's a little bit hard to see here, but we're working on some renderings and some 3D modelings that'll help represent this a little more clearly. But there's some existing surface parking areas here. And we thought this would be a really interesting opportunity to keep the surface parking in its existing condition, but build a shade structure over the top of it that acts as like a green roof or some green open space for the school to use, that can be accessed from the school, from the second floor of the school, and really kind of double the open space around it while providing shade below it, as we look at different opportunities for cooling centers around the community, as well as this might be that opportunity. That green roof structure could have different programmatic events, some outdoor classroom spaces with some shade canopies over them, so still provide shade while you're out in there. Potential some gardening, some raised garden beds for different agricultural class. Really looking at throwing everything we can and what we've heard in the community at it as much as possible. And then in the existing play area, really just trying to provide some additional shade in those areas, and in what opportunities we have to provide green infrastructure, but still providing some open lawn areas, because obviously, kids are going to want to run, and we want to make sure that they have that open space to do that, but providing some more shade and relief as well. But then, all surrounding streets around Fame Academy, really showcasing those as what can be done to really push the green infrastructure, the shade opportunities, the safe walkable areas as much as we can. So this has kind of the idea of adding some additional bus routes too, and some additional bus stops. So we've kind of analyzed the existing bus network, and think that having kind of a little bit more on the north-south connectors would be a really good thing as well. So adding kind of that opportunity to Blatchley, as well as to James. The one thing too, when we talked about kind of the automatic gates, looking at doing that on Humphrey Street as well. That street is really tough as it goes under the railroad tracks and comes back over the top of the Mill River, and really creates a pond area. So really trying to focus kind of a safe, walkable exit and evacuation strategy away, and keeping people safe from kind of going into an area that may look like it only has a couple inches of water, but we know it can really fill up and pond significantly. Eric, was there anything I missed on that? I know I went through it fast.
No, I think you covered everything. I think you talked generally about, potentially this as being a redevelopment area, once John W. Murphy is raised and sort of that culvert backflow preventer is taken care of, essentially opens up this, these few blocks for redevelopment by essentially, taking it out of the existing floodplain.
Gentlemen, I would just point out that a significant number of our kids that go to high school go to Wilbur High School on the other side there, and they either are transported in bus, drive, or walk through this area that you're talking about to get over to East Rock, where the high school is. So that's just something to keep in mind in terms of the population there. We also have kids coming in the other direction to go to the Amistad Academy School that use that underpass at Humphrey Drive, as well as come over from State Street.
Yep, no, that's a good comment. Are there other questions or comments on this concept?
How many other sections do you have? Because we're at 40 minutes, so we want to just be sensitive.
Yeah,
Is there
these are the only two. This is the last one.
Okay. So you're looking for general comments now or questions? Is that what you?
Yeah, in terms of the next steps, for our project, we are pretty much wrapping up our work on this over the next month, 3 or 4 weeks. So we have another advisory committee meeting tomorrow where we meet with the with the city and the folks that are on that committee that have been providing input all along. We will be refining these concepts, based on input from tonight and that we get tomorrow. We're also working on cost estimates for these at planning level costs, looking at the benefits versus the costs, which is referred to as a BCA for potential future grant applications for projects. And then our plan is to again finalize this overall plan with recommendations by the end of this month. Really, is to have most of that done. And then we have a final virtual public meeting and a combined advisory committee meeting later this month, so towards the end of the month. So again, looking for comments and feedback. If not tonight, then feel free to contact us after this meeting, and we can certainly take your comments and still have time to address certain issues.
It'd be great if someone could put the email address you want people to use and the dates and stuff in the chat. I just want to make sure that I don't know if there's anyone on from the city, but there are 3 projects that are in the pipeline right now at different levels that we want to make sure you are talking with the city about how anything that gets done in these areas is taken into account by the planning you're doing. The most immediate one is some money has been secured for Quinnipiac River Park, which is south of Grand Avenue. It's not a lot, it's a few $100,000, but there's a seawall there and there's work that needs to be done on the rocks. So that's one. Second one is the city's going to announce tomorrow a multi-million-dollar grant for Grand Avenue.
Wow.
And tree shade and benches are a must. There's going to be a bike lane in certain sections, hopefully. So that's a project that is very much at the beginning stages. And then there's one that's a little bit further back, I think, and that's the one on Ferry Street, covering Ferry Street from Middletown all the way down to the Ferry Street Bridge. Each one of those projects has sea level rise and shading implications, tree shading, canopy implications. And Giovanni's in as our city engineer is totally involved and knows everything about these projects.
Well, that's great. Yeah, we actually met with some folks regarding the Quinnipiac River Park work and the funding that they received for that. Actually, Fuss and O'Neill is involved in helping the city with the Grand Avenue grant. So that's excellent news. And we're coordinating on that. And we'll make sure that the Ferry Street work is also incorporated. That sounds really relevant too. That's super.
Yeah, particularly the 2 ends, Ferry Street Bridge and the other end, Middletown, are real hot spots for entering and exiting the neighborhood in case of an emergency.
Great. No, that's excellent feedback. You mentioned Giovanni is involved in that project as well.
Oh, yes, he's very much on top of it.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presentation. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks so much for your time. We also appreciate everyone's feedback.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, so moving forward under the section of health, housing, and public safety, we don't have any announcements or anything there. Under arts, culture, and library, we have Kurt, who is joining us virtually. And I'll get you up now, Kurt.
Hey, everyone. A couple, we're actually a few points about things coming up here. We're hoping you'll return to the room or come to the library if you're remote. This Saturday, we will be having another do-it-yourself gardening program with Folly Delgado, who's one of the garden volunteers who works on our gardens right here and other ones in Fairhaven. Fall is going to be soon on us, and she is going to be discussing herbs and home herbal remedies. So that will be the topic of the gardening workshop this Saturday. So that's the 9th, and it will start at 11 o'clock. We hope you'll be there for that. I think she may be on board or even speaking later, so I won't say a lot about it. But a week from today, so Thursday the 14th, we are excited to have back Wildelise Bermudez, who will be talking about the work that the city's Fair Rent Commission does. And so if you're interested in those issues or need more advice about the work they do and maybe how they can help you, it will be Thursday, like I say, a week from today, the 14th, starting at 6 o'clock. Another thing that we're really excited about on the kids side of things is the Peabody Museum is looking at a potential reopening. As I'm sure you know, they've been under renovations for the last few years, but they're looking at a reopening in the spring. And we're going to have staff here from the Peabody Museum to engage kids and families with all things dinosaurs. Activities, they'll bring some of the artifacts that you may be able to touch. And we're going to have them 3 times this month. They will be here on Saturday, the 16th, and Saturday, the 23rd, both of those days, 10 to 3. And then we'll also have them on Tuesday, so after school, Tuesday from 3 to 5. So we're pretty excited about that. And then the other thing related to the Peabody is for anyone who has kids and has been in over the last several months, might have gotten some items from the Peabody. Because when the Peabody closed to begin their renovations, they actually donated to the library system. And so we were one of the beneficiaries of it right here, of all of the contents of their gift shop. And so little by little, we've been, when kids complete our scavenger hunts or do some of the other challenges we have here, they've been getting some of the prizes, or we've been giving them as prizes some of the items that we've gotten from the Peabody Museum. But in anticipation of the dinosaur programs that we've got going on, we are doing a project where we announced the days that we're going to do this, but we're hiding one of the dinosaurs that they gave us. We've named the dinosaur Sam the Stegosaurus, and at appointed times we hide him somewhere in the building. And the first kid who finds Sam, and then we give them a little bit of a learning challenge about the library. they will get one of the, shall we say, bigger ticket items that the PBD had given us. We started this week, and the first girl who found it got a very awesome art and sketchbook kit. So you stop in or check us out online to see the next time Sam goes into hiding. But that's, that's separate from the PBD's own visits here. But if you love dinosaurs, and people of all ages do, stop in for those programs. The last one I have for you is anyone who was here last month might remember the presentation that Nick Brundage did. We're partnering with his group VITA to potentially have be a host site of a free location to do your to have your taxes prepared in the new tax season. But for them to do that here, they need some volunteers to step forward that they will begin training so that they can do these basic tax returns. So if you or anyone you know is interested, please let me know, and I can pass your information along to Nick so they can start developing their roster of tax preparers for the coming season. And that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Kirk. All right. So Adam, you guys are still working on the bylaws update, correct?
So yeah, I've been having some health issues recently, so I'm a little behind, but what's going on is this is our September meeting, and then next month, October, we should get them finalized, do our final vote. So our last vote, I'm going to get together with all the bylaws committee and just make sure that we've got 90% of it done. It's just the wording on a few things that we wanted to make sure there weren't any loopholes or anything like that. So next month will be the kind of final vote on the new bylaws. And then that's important because we have elections in November. So if you would like to be on the community management team board, or if there's anyone you would like to have on there, feel free to begin nominating now. Basically, any voting member is able to run, and we'll have hopefully after next month some updated bylaws so that there's no kind of getting rid of some loopholes and stuff like that from the last time.
Thank you so much for the update, Adam. I really do appreciate it. And moving on to announcements with New Haven Solid Waste and Recycling Authority, we have Mr. Jeff Simon joining us online.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you again. And some interesting stuff on improvements. Great stuff. Yeah, I'm here to just proclaim that Hometown Recycling Day, the annual big box recycling event for the Solid Waste Authority, is on again this year, September 30th. I'm going to put some stuff in the chat right now so you can see it. And unfortunately, I couldn't make it in person, so somebody might have to grab it from Lee or somebody. But here we go. I'm going to drop it in the chat now. This is a flyer, which in the Spanish and English versions, which pretty much tells you all. But I will tell you, I'll say it orally here too. This is an event for people that, if you are unfamiliar, it's an event that we try to go into the community each year and pick a different spot so we can get out to you folks. This is stuff that most of it can be brought to the transfer station, which we own and operate, which is on 260 Middletown Avenue. I'm sure most of you know where that is. But we also like to go in the community to make it more convenient for you and also to bring some awareness. And what we're receiving now at this event on September 30th from 9 to 1 is mattresses and box springs, electronics, which includes computers, cell phones, stereos, monitors, even wiring. We're receiving textiles, which is a broad term for clothing, accessories, including handbags, belts, etc. Also shoes, I'm getting really specific here because I don't, we're trying to give it to, these are the items that you can bring. Also, lithium batteries and lithium batteries, rechargeable batteries. And we're having a shredder, which it's our new tradition, having one every year. It seems to be very popular. Of course, it's no admission. It's a free charge. There's no charge. So bring any of those things down, get ready, save the date, and we hope to see you there. It's on the campus of Southern over on Farnham Avenue, 114 Farnham Avenue, September 30th. Any questions from anybody?
I don't see any questions here in-house. I don't see anything online either.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the information. We'll make sure we get those flyers out. And I believe.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Are there any limits on how much electronics and things you can bring?
On everything except for shredding, there are no limits. So shredding is just to have a limited amount of space that you can actually put in their truck. But everything else, much as you want, bring a carload down, come again, come back with some more. Fine.
Okay.
Shredding is limited to 3 bankers boxes.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Were there any additional questions? One. All right, I don't see anything else.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and with Fair Rent Commission, I'm not sure if she's on. I know Miss Will Bermudez wanted to share an announcement, but I do not see her online.
I'm sticking the flyers in the chat. It's also the same event that Kirk talked about in his thing, that next Thursday from 6 to 7 at the library. The Fair Rent Commission is going to be there for a community workshop.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on to Alder reports. I do know that there is a meeting, so there aren't any Alders here in person nor online this evening.
Oh, sorry. One other announcement that we added today. We have one more announcement. Sorry, Liz. This is Abby from Billy Bromage about an upcoming mural. This was a late breaking edition. So Billy, just want to get him in there.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the late breaking space. I'll just make it really quick. I just wanted to give an update. I'd come a couple months ago, I think 2 months ago, and was doing talk about the mural that muralist Kwejo Adai is doing at the Hancock Pharmacy along Blatchley there. So Blatchley and Grand. There's a community mural going up about community and mental health. I know some people on the call here and some others were involved in the process of developing what kind of themes would be there. Kwejo's been out there. Some people have probably noticed he's been out there most afternoons when it's sunny, painting the mural there. I just wanted to let everybody know that there's going to be a few community painting days, probably the week of September 18th. And I'll make sure I get that information to the management team leaders as soon as Kwejo knows. Some of it's a little bit dependent on the weather next week. The weather doesn't look great for outdoor painting. So that will be happening the week of the 18th. So I'll make sure that word gets out, and then we'll have some kind of we'll also get the word out to you sometime in early October, probably more like mid-October. So I'll request some space on the management team in October. There'll be a community sort of unveiling of the mural with a little bit of festivities there. So I will make sure I spread the word to you all about that in advance as well. And we'll have a flyer for that as well that I can share with you if you'd like to distribute it to people that you know. And that's it. Thanks so much for giving me space on the agenda.
You're welcome. Thank you for the information.
And I think, Liz, that Will DeLeese is back on. So if Will DeLeese for her announcement.
Hi. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys so much. So yeah, I just wanted to, if it's okay with you all, I just wanted to mention that next Thursday, we are having on behalf of the Fair Rent Commission, we're having a community presentation on the Fair Rent Commission, and it's a community workshop so that people know what their rights are. Especially those tenants who are either facing an excessive rental increase or a combination of excessive rental increase, and there's problems inside their unit that need to be taken care of by their landlord. And so we're just going to present in the same way that we've done in the past. And it's going to start at 6 p.m. and it'll be in person at the Fairhaven Library.
Okay, thank you so much for the information.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys as well.
Have a great night. Okay, so.
Very quickly. Events. On the 16th, September 16th, 12 to 3, we're gonna have an elderly community fair for the older community. It's gonna be everything like senior employment for the elderly, housing, home care, like everything topic, health-based screening, resources for the elderly. So we're gonna be playing bingo, like 5 major like prizes. So it's gonna be a good event for the community on the 16th, and also on September 9th, the environment. Jessica, if you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we're gonna be collaborating with State and Sound and the Long Island Sound Study. We'll be having from 12 to 2 this Saturday a presentation on environmental justice, introducing New Haven to the grants and opportunities that there are out there for us, and especially the Fairhaven community. There will be a pre-survey and then a presentation. I know State and Sound will be bringing in swag bags, and everybody that participates in the pre-survey will be rewarded with a Visa gift card. Everyone is welcome to join. It must be a New Haven resident. You have to live, work, or be a student here in New Haven to participate in this event.
And also, September 29th, we'll have a bike repair clinic for Broadly Bike Pool. They'll be visiting and doing like the clinic, any repair for adult bikes, child bike, like any of the repairs. So that'll be on the task.
From 3 to 6, from 3 to 6. 3 to 6. Oh, thank you so much for those announcements. Really do appreciate it. And moving forward, once again to Aldo reports. I do know again they are in the meeting, so we don't have anyone here and present nor online. Did we have any updates? Did we have one from Sarah? But I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yes, we did. I can brief it quickly if yeah, I'll just go ahead and brief it. So Sarah, our alder, Sarah Miller, is unable to make the meeting tonight due to a conflict, but she sent her report by email with 3 primary points. One is the Democratic primary is on September 12th. That is what day of the week is that? That is Tuesday. So mark your calendar to vote if you are registered. And also you are welcome to register if you are unregistered. So this is for the Democratic primary. Polls are open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So check your voting place, and you can call Alder Miller with any questions. I'll put her number in the chat. Number 2 is there has been a grant awarded to the Grand Avenue Special Services and Town Green District Partnership, which will have a press conference tomorrow. Basically, they have been awarded $160,000 in support staffing and services, which is going to clean up both the Grand Avenue and also downtown, which is amazing. And there's an article in the New Haven Independent that I'll put in the chat about this. And then thirdly, the Atwater Community Center will be seeing a refresher, and they're reconvening to review proposals for the design and programming for the building on Tuesday, September 19th. And there will be a flyer that is distributed about that as well. So mark your calendars right now, Tuesday, the 19th. So Tuesday, the 12th, go to the primary. Tuesday, the 19th, go to the Atwater talkback session. So that is the word from our alder.
Thank you so much, Abby. Really do appreciate your giving the update from Ms. Sarah Miller. And now I think if there aren't any other items that need to be addressed, we'll officially adjourn the meeting for September and invite everyone to come back next month. And if you're unable to make it in person, please do join us via Zoom, get the word out to other friends and neighbors to have them join us via Zoom or here in person at the library as well.
Madam Chair,
Oh, yes.
hi. Do all of the Fairhaven alders get notification of these meetings?
Yes, there's
Yes.
MailChimp.
You're on the mailing list, all of them.
Okay. So there are no other alder reports?
No, not right now. Not for tonight. Not for this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So,
I think you do have to do like a motion and second and then that's it.
right. So I'd just like to make the motion to adjourn for September.
Second that.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
everyone.
wait, before everybody leaves, sorry, just one last thing about nominations. If you'd like to nominate somebody for any of the board positions, if you're a voting member, you can send an email to fairhavencmt@gmail.com to make that nomination, and we will take your nomination. So nominations are now, as of this meeting, open for any of the board members' positions.
Abby, can I
Fair
ask
job.
that, can I ask that all board positions and their job descriptions are sent out specifically? I know they're in the bylaws, but it'd be helpful for people to just be super clear about like what the roles are. So that people can consider whether they're interested in being nominated or nominating themselves.
Yep, definitely. We'll send it out in an e-blast.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening. We'll see you in October. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right.
On Gabriel.